actually have 2 minutes. I don't want to start early in case people are tuning in. We got a couple of minutes. I don't want to start early. By the way, our back clock is different from our side clock. That one's faster than this one. We just got to get them on the same. Huh? It's a slightly different time zone. That's it. It's just the time moves a little bit faster back there. Well, I don't know. Thank you all for being here.
So if I'm green, you'll turn me on, or do I need to stay off until you turn?
Say that one more.
If this is green, have you got me off over there, or do I need to leave this off? Yeah, you got me on.
Yep.
So,
We will go ahead and call to order our regular meeting for April 22nd, and we always like to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. So we'll ask Gary Harris to come forward and lead us in the pledge.
Present arms. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. And at this time, we'll ask that you join us in a moment of silence. You can use this time for silent prayer, reflection, preparation for the meeting, or however you spend this moment. Thank you all very much. Council, you have the minutes from April the 8th. I did make one adjustment with Melissa on just one citizen comment, the little bit of rewording on that sentence. But other than that, were there any additional changes, or can we have a motion to approve as amended? We have a motion. Do we have a second? A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we will move right into citizen comments on public matters. We'll ask that if you have something you would like to state for us this evening, come down to the podium. Please use the microphone, state your name for the record, and limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. And we will open the floor now for citizen comments.
My name is Gary Harris, and I've lived in Radford all my life, commander of the VFW for 25 years. 2 weeks ago, I got a phone call one afternoon, and they wanted to know why there was not a flagpole and a flag down at Veterans Park. I really didn't have an answer, and I really didn't even realize it. And I pulled a little VFW magic. In 3 days, I had a flagpole. And thanks to the electric department and the street department, the flagpole is up and the flag is flying. So,
Woohoo.
Thank you, Gary, and thank you. Thank you for moving quickly on that, and thank you to the electric department and Public Works and everybody else who helped with that. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else who has any comments for the public record?
Hello, my name is Bill Fleischer. I've a time or two I've complimented the electric department, and they deserved it. But tonight I'd like to compliment the water department. I had to replace a washer on my cutoff valve, and that meant they had to turn the water off momentarily. I had to leave a message, but within a couple hours they called me back, and then they said, "When do you want us there?" And I said, "What's your schedule?" He said, "You tell us." And so I saw about 10 o'clock, and right at 10 o'clock on the nose, they were there. And so that was wonderful. But I know that may not seem extraordinary, but some people would say, well, that's their job. And it is their job. But I have friends and family in cities across this country, and not everything's always that simple in other cities. And not everybody always calls you back or shows up when they say they're going to show up. So I appreciate that, as well as I appreciate the fact of the struggles that Radford's having presently with financial matters, with the budget. and I know it's hard within that budget to have salaries, to retain people, to attract good people. Also, I appreciate the fact that when you all were struggling with the budget and heard the school board's request, that you requested more information, and that was a good thing to do. And I also appreciate, Ms. Foster, your comment regarding the equity between the other city workers, because they will talk. So anyway, it's just a word of encouragement to keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. Does anybody else have any comments for the public record? Hearing none, we will go on and close that portion of the meeting. And we do have a proclamation this evening that I'm honored to share. This is for National Cities, Towns, and Villages Month. Whereas the National League of Cities was founded in 1924 in Lawrence, Kansas as the American Municipal Association by state municipal leagues seeking more coordination and national representation as cities, towns, and villages expanded rapidly. Whereas the nonpartisan National League of Cities is the oldest and largest organization representing municipal governments throughout the United States, representing the interests of more than 19,000 cities, towns, and villages across the country. And whereas today the National League of Cities works in partnership with 49 state municipal leagues across the country to strengthen local leadership, drive innovation, and influence the federal policies that impact the local programs and operations. And whereas as the voice of cities, towns, and villages in Washington, D.C., the National League of Cities has successfully championed federal legislative solutions that support municipalities and has worked closely with Congress and the executive branch to educate policymakers on the realities of local implementation. And whereas local governments are the bedrock of American democracy, providing 336 million residents with the most accountable, responsive, inclusive, ethical, and transparent government in the world, and whereas the nation's smallest villages to the largest cities, America's local governments have been essential in transforming the United States of America into the greatest, most influential nation in world history. And whereas the city of Radford was first incorporated in 1885 and is proudly served today by city council and a municipal workforce of 337 dedicated public servants. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Radford City Council hereby proclaims May 2024 as National Cities, Towns, and Villages Month in celebration of America's local governments and the National League of Cities' historic centennial anniversary. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt this proclamation. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you all very much. Very important, and historically, when we talked about Radford being an all-America city, it was through our participation with the National League of Cities. Maybe one day we will move back in that direction again because we know we are an all-America city. It's just getting that recognition. At this time, we are going to have a public hearing for the Ridgewood Water Tank Cell Tower. So we are moving forward with this project pursuant to Virginia Code Section 15.2-2102. I, David Horton, will now summarize the bids that the city has received for a proposed non-exclusive lease of attachment location and ground space at the water tank site located at 110 Ridgewood Lane in the city of Radford for cellular telecommunication purposes. We have received one bid. The U.S. Cellular has proposed a 5-year non-exclusive lease with options to renew for up to 7 additional 5-year terms. In consideration of the lease, U.S. Cellular proposes to pay the city rent in the amount of $2,855 per month, which shall be increased by 10% during each 5-year term. The lease will be subject to the terms of a tower and ground space lease, substantially in the form of Exhibit A, which is attached to the city's proposed ordinance granting non-exclusive lease of attachment location and ground space at the water tank site located at 110 Ridgewood Lane in the city of Radford, Virginia for cellular telecommunication purposes. And U.S. Cellular has been a previous provider of telecommunication service at the water tank site, and this would be a renewal of the previous lease. At this time, I will open the floor and say, are there any other persons desiring to submit a bid? Council, are there any additional bids that you're aware of, or city staff?
Bids closed at 12 today. We did not receive any additional bids.
There being no further bids, the bidding is closed. Do you have any recommendations from the bid submitted by U.S. Cellular?
I mean, I have no comments except to explain that this process is required, guys, whenever you've got a lease of certain types of public property for a period longer than 5 years. And because this proposed lease did include renewal terms for up to 7 additional 5-year terms, by state code, the city was required to advertise its intention to grant this lease and also to, solicit bids for the use of the public property, which is the water tank in this instance. I would note that in addition to receiving, the bids, you also should ask if there's any public comment.
I'm
you know,
getting ready to
on
do
this,
that.
when you get to
Yep.
that. But that's the purpose of this process.
Thank you very much.
Those longer periods of time have gotten to be more common that we've seen.
Yeah,
in
used
these
to
nowadays.
used to
I
be,
guess investment.
I tended to see more like 20-year terms, and now it seems, honestly, we get approached and they want a 100-year term, and we're like, well, we can't do it for any longer than 40 years, under state law. But that's the purpose of this process.
All right.
I-
Thank,
I have a couple of questions,
Okay.
just general. Does this stop us from leasing that water tower space to anybody else that would come along?
It's not.
Want to do that for some reason?
Oddly enough, this process is, really, it's required, at least from my reading, even when it's a non-exclusive lease, which is what this is. Now, this lease is non-exclusive in the sense that if there were other locations attachment locations on the water tower that could be used by other providers, you would still have the ability to lease those attachment locations. If there is additional ground space below the water tank that could be used for example, another, base of operations down there for the equipment that they house in these shelters at the base of it, that could also, be leased to another provider. Now, the exact attachment location
Well, yeah.
that U.S. Cellular would be located on the tank, that's
Taken
for
up.
practical reasons, only they could be at that location. They can only be at that spot, for their the ground space that they have their equipment shed located on. Only they could be there.
Okay, and so every 5 years, the monthly amount due would increase?
It
How is that
increases by
det-
10%.
Okay, I missed that. Sorry,
Well,
so it would be
yeah,
10%
and that's-
every
that-
5?
That's
Okay.
included in the proposed
Okay.
tower and ground space lease, that every 5 years it's increased by 10%.
Okay, I
over
just missed the
previous year.
percentage. Thank you.
That's been probably one of the good things we've been modernizing these lease agreements.
Yeah,
Mike's been good at catching those. That's
for sure.
especially these long. As Mike mentioned with the Ridgewood, practically that site may not be able to accommodate. You never know, with today's technology, things are changing so much. Got 10
Sticks,
up in it now.
yeah.
Yeah, it may take only one of those, so we've got plenty of ability to come back.
Okay, just
Yeah.
general curiosity. Thank you.
all right, at this time, I'm going to open the floor for the public hearing. If you have any comment or question regarding this lease, please come down to the podium, use the microphone, state your name for the record. So the public hearing is now open. Last call for speakers. We will now go on and close the public hearing, and we will address this business a little bit later in our meeting under new business. We also have another public hearing on electric and water and wastewater rates. And David, before we do that, do you have some information you want to share with us?
Sure, if you're ready to go. You all, council has seen this before. I won't wander around tonight, so I'll stay seated. You have seen these items throughout the last month or so of budgeting. We've got two basic things that are impacted, our wastewater fund and our electric fund. Just to quickly go over what we've talked about, the wastewater fund, this is a comparison of the proposed rate to our neighbors. We're still looking at both water and wastewater. We are the lowest in looking with our neighbors. We are looking at an increase. It'll go from $14.24 for 2,000 gallons to $16.24 for 2,000 gallons
Per month.
per month. That's wastewater. Water itself does not change.
And as you can see,
that
that's.
increase in wastewater is because of the Peppers Ferry cost. We've got to do some pump station improvements and things like that, so we're looking at the capital items that go into sanitary sewer. We have not done a whole lot with sanitary sewer since Gibsondale project a couple of years ago.
And David and I serve on the Peppers Ferry Wastewater Treatment Board. We did push back a little bit on the budget this year, talking about why we needed an increase at Peppers Ferry. The cost of chemicals and the cost of business, just like every place else, has just increased, and so we've had to move forward with that. David?
Again, this just the summary, moving from 1424 to 1624. You can see water increased last year, and it's been 5 years since we have done any other increases. And then looking at that analysis, this gives you a pretty good idea, looking at a 2,000-gallon customer, 4,000-gallon customer, 6,000-gallon customer, and 10,000-gallon customer. You can see at the bottom the number of customers that are in each of those categories. When you get to 10,000, we've only got a very few, less than 10 that are in that category because they have a swimming pool or whatever. And then across the bottom is what that increase means to each of those. So if you use 2,000 gallons, you're going up about $2. If you use 4,000, going up 4, 6 is 6, and then 10 is 10.
Okay, thank you.
And then the other thing that's going up is water connection fees. The cost of those connections has been much higher than has gone up since we have done this in the past. So we're going to go from $1,300 to $2,000, from $5,300 total in all the connection availability fees to $6,000. No other rates change in that category, and we still are very, very competitive with neighbors. Moving on to the electric fund, this is the big one. I've only got a couple of slides on this. The main thing that's driving the electric rate is our wholesale power purchase. You can see in 2020, we were at 12 million, and in 2025, we're at 20 million. And just look at the jumps, at least in the last 3 years. Look at those notes at the bottom. Wholesale power cost increases we just went up on those twice in the past year, and it had been many years before that since we had gone up. We're going up on the base rate a little bit. Some of the things that are causing these increases are just the rising fuel costs, that transmission that occurs, that's getting energy to us from other locations, the APCO energy demand, contract increases, and then that all-important inflation that's affecting everybody that's 14 to 17%, depending on what area you look at that's producing that number. Just a quick comparison. This does not take into account anybody else that's going up. As you're aware, APCO is looking at another increase as filed. We're slightly under that with the new rate at 167. The APCO comparison for us, if we're looking at industry, if we're looking at residential development, if we're looking at any kind of business, we're looking at that APCO rate mostly because that's what is on both county, actually all the counties around us, but Montgomery County, Pulaski County, those are the two that we're most looking at in comparison when we're looking at our numbers. And then the areas to the far right in red that we've talked about, that 96, $10, and then that wholesale power adjustment, those are the cost increase factors that will be on the tariff sheets. And then again, trying to bring this into comparison, on the left-hand side, you have the 1,000 kilowatt hours, both current and proposed, and what that increase is, basically go to the column on the right for each section as you move up, 2,000 kilowatt hours and 5,000 kilowatt hours. You can see we've only got 8 customers in the 5,000 kilowatt hours, 2,700 in the 2,000 kilowatts, and then most of the customers are in that 1,000 kilowatt hours. The right column in each of the 3 sections at the bottom, 29, 23 is what generally, and this can be different for every customer. We don't, as we've talked about budget, there's no cookie cutter, but we tried to get an average of as many different customers as we could. 29, 23 would be the general impact for that 1,000 kilowatt hour customer, 71, 75 for that 2,000 kilowatt customer, and for that 5,000 kilowatt customer, right at $200.
And that's a monthly charge.
Monthly charge, correct.
And I just wanted to point out, so the electric department provides us with amazing electric service. Certainly make sure we all have what we need with that, but it also is a source for our budgeting. That $3.9 million is budgeted to transfer from the electric department to the city budget to make the budget balance. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
And we are also with this restoring the margin so that we can do that and to rebuild the reserves for the electric department as well, so that they will have plenty to address any issues that may arise that might be unexpected over the course of the year. That's an important distinction for us to make here. Inflation has eaten up that margin over the last few years, and that's where a lot of the reserves and the money has gone as we have moved through the last 2 budget cycles. So that's an important piece for us to think about. Without that, for the city of Radford, somewhere between additional 28 and 32 cents would be required to get that $3.9 million out of real estate tax. So that's something to think about as you go there. I don't want to confuse it too much, but I think it's an important thing to keep in mind that this is a choice as a community as how we're choosing to fund part of our budget, utilizing the electric rate. Everyone pays an electric bill. Not everybody pays real estate tax, and so this helps to spread that cost a little bit. Do you have anything else you want to share?
Just when you look at our total budget, a large amount of the budget in that increase in that area, while we cut $1 million out of the budget in salaries, we've cut everywhere we could possibly cut. These increases that are driving the total amount up are because of this big jump, $4 million in just wholesale electric power purchase, that Pepper's Ferry increase, some of the other categories, and that doesn't even count us wielding the power through the city. So just wanted to make that clarification. Tonight's public hearing has been advertised because electric and water are specific, water and wastewater are specific to state code. You have to advertise those. Tonight's public hearing has been advertised. As far as we know, we have not received any online comments.
Okay, at this time, we will open the floor for the public hearing. If you have any questions or comments, please come down to the podium, state your name for the record, use the microphone. All right, last call for speakers. We will close the public hearing, and then we will address these rates later under new business. At this time, we do have some old business to talk about, and it's not that old. We've been working with this for several months. New River City RV Resort has requested a special use permit to construct and operate a recreational vehicle park on tax parcel 24-1-8. This is a 36-acre site. It has been known as the Islands for several years, adjacent to the New River and West Main Street near exit 105 at the westward city limits, 3080 Little River Road. And 180 recreational spaces are proposed. It is currently zoned both CD, which is Conservation District, and M1 Industrial, and does require a special use permit for the recreational vehicle park. So Planning Commission reviewed this at its April 15th meeting. I've asked Melissa, were there any comments or anything that we needed to have as part of that? I haven't heard anything. Seth, you are a representative. Did you have anything you wanted to share from the Planning Commission?
No, well, that was actually on tax day, so I did miss that meeting. But in our further discussions with them, I don't have anything to add, so I'll turn it to Melissa.
I was going to say there was no additional conversation regarding the resolution. We did make a slight adjustment in that, and you have that before you in terms of designating a certain amount of spots per for the seasonal time frame for
Seasonal
them.
usage,
yes,
yeah.
the seasonal usage. But of course, see how it goes. Hopefully they'll have great interest in doing that. They can always come back and request an amendment to that.
Well, and the other piece, we went through this several years ago when we had another person propose the same type of space. And one of the things we were really concerned about was having vehicles parked there, perhaps sublet, not utilized, and that it essentially became a glorified trailer park. We've talked with the folks that are proposing this park, and we feel good about that. One piece that has changed from the original special use permit for the previous proposal is that the amount of time that a vehicle will be allowed to remain in a space has increased to 9 months annually. And we understand that as we have these discussions, the season is a little bit longer. I think it still meets our concern that it not be just parked and left for years at a time, even if they're paying rent. Our hope with this is going to be much like a hotel where people are coming into town, utilizing resources, that they shop, they dine in restaurants, that they are part of this community. So we think that'll help with some of that as well. Council members, do you all have any questions or comments regarding this resolution for the special use permit?
Nope.
I just want to say, if for some reason, which we've had before, if this property is sold, this zoning goes back to it the way it was, or is this new and it carries on? Okay.
I do like too that in the proposal they have that there will be no permanent structures. I do think that that eliminates quite a few of the questions that have been asked. And you also clearly state that you would be responsible for any cleanup or debris that were to get into the river from this site. I feel very comfortable with the owners. I know that we've done our due diligence in case for whatever reason it were to transfer hands, but I do think that this is a unique opportunity for the city, and I appreciate your guys' interest and hopeful development. So, thank you.
Any other?
Add one more thing, you know, as part of the site plan approval process, they will be required to do an emergency management plan, just because of
Right.
the location, the floodway. So we feel confident that we'll review that and have a good
And the
plan
special use
together.
permit does address that we will have a site permit plan and all of that, so there will be some other pieces there. Any other questions or comments, council? Do we have a motion to adopt the special use permit resolution?
So moved.
Do we have a second? Second. A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay?
Mayor, I did neglect to tell you, because it's a resolution involving a special use permit, we can't do a second reading.
Having heard 4 affirmative votes, we can dispense with a second reading if so desired. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you all very much.
Thank
We're
you.
excited. Let us know when we come
Yes.
camping.
We are very excited.
All right. So moving under new business, the 2 pieces we just had our public hearings for, we do have ordinance 1804, which is the cell tower renewal for the Ridgewood water tank. Councilmember, are there any additional questions or comments before we consider a motion? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve ordinance 1804 as submitted? We have a motion. We have a motion. Do we have a second? A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Having heard 4 affirmative votes, we can dispense with a second reading if so desired. Is there a motion to do so? So moved. We have a motion. Do we have a second? A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We do have ordinance 1805, which is an ordinance to levy and establish rates for utilities in the city of Radford. Are there any further questions or comments before we consider that motion? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve ordinance 1805 as reviewed just a few minutes ago and submitted?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we will have a second reading on that April 25th, because we do need to have a second reading on these rates. Okay, council. We also have our city rates and fees. These are just a variety of things. It does include our utility rates. David, do you have anything to add on any city fees? Do you have anything else you want to add on any of the fees?
Sorry, Mayor. No, the fee structure pretty much is exactly the same. There's a slight increase at the Recreation Department for non-member fees, which was endorsed by the Recreation Department by the Commission. And other than that, all the rest of the rates stay the same. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 slight meter increases, and that is because of cost.
Okay.
But we do recommend approval for the rate resolution.
And David, I actually had a citizen, or it's a coach for Little League, wanted some clarification as far as the rental fee and the process for Hodge Field itself. Obviously, this is a travel team, so obviously all the rec department has first priority. But, and I was looking through these fees, and I wasn't sure if I was missing that or what, but if maybe me and you could talk to Greg and address this, if there was a certain time, or if it's Saturday, Sunday. He was asking what day and what is the proper procedure to do that. If he needs to go directly to Greg or Chuck.
Yes, either one of them is fine. They have the schedule printed out for the season. Once that's done and we've got all our games established, then the travel teams or any visitors, those special events that we have, special tournaments, all those things then fall into play, and Greg coordinates those with our staff and with the folks that want to use them.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Council, do we have a motion to adopt the resolution amendment for the city rates and fees?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Do we need a second reading with that resolution? I just want to make sure. All right, every year we participate in the Community Development Block Grant Program. We receive funds as an entitlement community from the Department of Housing and Urban Development to support low and moderate income projects. Melissa has done an amazing job putting together a plan. There was a public comment period that began on Wednesday, April 10th, and will run through May 13th, 2024. But the plan includes $40,000 for emergency home repair. We struggle with this one every year because the person has to own the home, so this can't be just a rental repair necessarily. But please, if you have need for an emergency home repair, contact Melissa, and let's try to use some of that money for that. We want to make sure our residents have that opportunity.
Mayor,
for-
can I actually add
Yep,
to that?
please do.
We did a little bit of an adjustment this year with that emergency home repair program to also include some weatherization, so it kind of opens up a little bit broader opportunity.
Outstanding. And that should help, you know, where we've had to raise electric rates. And again, this is not something we want to do, but something we have to do. If your house doesn't have great weather stripping, window protection, things along that line, that assistance could potentially help you lower your electric bill, which is a good thing. So we appreciate that. For non-housing activities, we're looking at $100,532 for public facility water sewer lines. Are those all connected with the East Main Street project? I think 17th Street. Thank you. $23,300 for beautification, $10,000 to support the facade program, the POP program that is administered through the Economic Development Authority. And then for our public service activities, it's a total of $30,700, $7,900 for the Women's Resource Center, $7,900 for New River Community Action, $4,000 for Bobcat Backpacks, $7,900 for Radford Fairlawn Daily Bread, $3,000 for August Kid, and then 20%, which is about $40,900, is general administration. Total of that is $27,000 under general administration, $27,151, for a grand total altogether of $231,683. Council members, do you all have any questions regarding the CDBG action plan?
Can I make one more comment,
Yes.
please? This is that estimated number that we're anticipating this year, the $204,000. We still do not have our final numbers from HUD yet, so as soon as we have that, if there's more than a 10%, then we'll have to come back and which would be a great thing to happen, but
That sounds good.
yeah,
Yeah, so to be continued, perhaps.
potentially.
All right, do we have a motion to endorse the CDBG action plan as presented? We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second?
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving on, we have a covenant extension for Tech Lab. Our friends at Tech Lab that are now part of a larger international conglomerate have been great partners with us at our commerce site at the Radford Industrial Center, and we've granted 4 extensions on a property adjacent to their facility. By resolution in 2011, 2016, 2019, and 2021, we're looking at another waiver and modification to the extension of time for Lot 11, which is 7 acres, for an additional 36 months from the current date of December 12th, 2023 to December 12th, 2026. They're looking to pursue additional development on the usage of the parcel as well as with the facility that could include job growth and other private investment. Do we have any comment or question before we look at this resolution?
Just a comment. The mayor and I were actually, a couple months ago, maybe a month ago, we were able to tour the facility with Steve Harvey. Thank you for taking the time to do that. I wasn't quite aware of all the cool things you guys do there, and it's a great facility to have here in the city, and I'm glad that we're extending this for you, and I hope that you guys will be with us for years to come and continue to grow. So just wanted to let you know that, and it was cool. Appreciated the opportunity, and you guys are a big part of our business community, so thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? Do we have a motion to approve the resolution? We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Motion is second. Any additional discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. At this time, before we get into our next appropriation ordinance for the READY program, I do have a statement I need to share. This matter involves a performance agreement with the RUF Hotel Land LLC that is subject to approval by City Council. The RUF Hotel Land LLC is the owner of the real property where the Highlander Hotel is located. I've been advised that Radford University loaned the RUF Hotel Land LLC $2 million to support the construction of the hotel. I am employed by the university and receive a salary of more than $5,000 annually. Due to the fact that the approval of the performance agreement may directly or indirectly affect the RUF Hotel Land LLC's ability to repay the loan to the university, I have a personal interest in this matter. I, however, am a member of a business, profession, occupation, or group that may be affected by council's decision and therefore am able to participate pursuant to sections 2.2-3112B1 and 2.2-3115H of the Virginia Conflicts of Interest Act. I am also able to participate in this matter fairly, objectively, and in the public interest. Seth, do you have something?
Our accounting firm, Darrell Gillespie CPA, until very recently provided the payroll services for the Radford University Foundation, located at P.O. Box 6915, Radford, Virginia, 24142. So I'll be abstaining from this vote.
And I will be participating in discussion, even though I have chosen to abstain from the vote in support of the other members of council. So the Radford University Foundation Hotel Land LLC has constructed the 125-unit hotel known as the Highlander, located at 604 Tyler Avenue, to advance economic development and community offerings. The investment is assessed at $24.4 million and opened a year ago after 2 years of planning and construction. The Economic Development Authority approved the performance agreement at its meeting on October 19th, 2023. City Council approved the performance agreement at its meeting on January 8th, 2024. The performance agreement is based on the provisions of the Radford Economic Development Incentive Program known as READY, which was established in 2018. It generally provides annual calendar year relief on real property taxes up to 80% of the payment over a 10-year period. This agreement provides operational expectations and clawback provisions if terms are not met. The taxes are paid by the foundation, then reimbursement comes in the form of a grant by appropriation. The EDA reviewed the performance measures provided by the Radford University Foundation Hotel Land LLC for reimbursement of a portion of the calendar year 2023 real property taxes. The EDA concurred that the hotel had met its requirements for the reimbursement of $150,199 at its meeting held on March the 7th, with overall revenues exceeding $300,000. And this includes revenues from dining, sales tax, the occupancy tax, and all ancillary revenues. Action was deferred by City Council from the March 25th, 2024 meeting. However, no action was able to be taken at the April 8th meeting due to only 2 voting members of City Council being present. So as such, we are here. Council members, do you all have any questions before we move forward? Abram, do you have anything from the EDA? We have several members of our EDA here. I think it's helpful to hear from you all if there's anything you want to share that might help in the final decision-making process with this. Yeah, please come to the podium.
Well, just like you said, we did review it, and when we came up with this performance agreement, I think we talked about the last time, we have a great group of guys, and we did want something where we could judge the performance, not just for this incentive, but future business down the road. Each business should be unique to what their business is, and that's what we decided to do with the performance agreement. But with this case, we did find out that the hotel generated close to $300 and I think around $350,000 in total taxes to the city, which they're going to be close to maxing it out, which is pretty, it's only 8 months in business. So that was what we discovered. We were happy that we got through the performance agreement the way it did, because it kind of worked out exactly some of the scenarios that we had put in there, and that was exactly what they did in 8 months of operation.
All right. And I just want to ask, as members of the Economic Development Authority, can you tell us a little bit, do you feel like this is an important tool, the READY program is an important tool for us to further develop the city of Radford?
I definitely think that you need some sort of incentive in any locality, whether it's a small city, big city, town, county, to be able to help offset other, maybe if we're not competitive in a certain area with electric rates or water rates, which it sounds like we're pretty close, having an incentive, whether it's just to help offset property taxes or the other taxes that a business could, come up against, I definitely think it's a good thing to be able to have that in our tool chest. This is obviously the largest one that we have, but it requires obviously, appropriation from the city. But, we feel good about the terms and conditions of the Ready allow us to kind of tailor make to one business, whether it's a warehousing, a manufacturing, or a hotel, what would work for them. It doesn't have to be the same set of standards for each business. We're pretty happy with what we came up with the performance agreement. Do you guys have anything else?
All right. Thank you all very much. Council members, any questions? Okay. Having heard none, do we have a motion to approve the appropriation for $150,198.73? We have a motion. Do we have a second? A motion and a second. Melissa, will you call the roll?
Yes.
Abstain. Okay, thank you all very much. A second reading will be held on May 13th, as this is an appropriation. We don't have a supermajority. We do need to have a second reading. That'll be held on May 13th, and we will resolve this. Thank you all so much. Thank you to our EDA. I know this has been tremendously hard work as we've moved through this. This is the first utilization of the READY program, and we're so appreciative of all the work that you've done. Thank you to the members of the Radford University Foundation who have been a part of this process as well, and thank you to staff for all that you have done. I know this has been a particularly challenging piece to work through, so thank you all very much.
And congratulations to the Highlander.
Absolutely.
For in their first year doing, it's a bittersweet because you did well, so you get a bigger check, but you did well, so we
That's great.
appreciate that too. So congratulations. It's a tough world to do business, especially as a new business, so kudos.
Absolutely. Moving forward, we do have one more appropriation. The Heritage Foundation has received a grant from the Virginia Department of Forestry in the amount of $4,400. These funds will be used for plants and supplies, promotional materials, with the beautification of Glencoe Mansion grounds. We don't have a local match that's required, and we're the fiscal agent for the project that'll be reimbursed by the Heritage Foundation with this grant. Council members, this is a great program to continue to beautify our city through the Virginia Trees for Clean Water Grant Program. Do we have a motion to approve ordinance 1787.29 in the amount of $4,400?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Having heard 4 affirmative votes, we can dispense with a second reading if so desired. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The motion passes. David, what do you have for us this evening?
Just a couple of quick things. Mayor, as you all know, we've been working hard on the West Radford Commerce Park. We're moving along with the state folks as far as our grants go. We've got a sizable amount of money we've requested from the state, from both VEDP as well as Department of Environmental Quality. They have now had, this is the third phase, I guess, third round. They have done their Radford visit, so we're very optimistic at this point. We continue to move along, so we've stayed in that top list of communities throughout the state. We think we're somewhere around 8. So keeping our fingers crossed, that will go a long ways towards removing the old slab that's up there, doing the grading work, working on the road going into the park, and then doing the remaining environmental types of things that go along with that piece of it. So should have that along soon. Mike and I and Kim have got meetings with DEQ. We continue to try to find out the answer to be able to move that property from you all to our EDA, since we got our EDA here, move it from you all to the EDA without there being 2 permitting processes and knowing what the VRP is going to require of us, which is the voluntary remediation, as well as any other types of things that will be associated with the
UCLA, right?
Eureka document. So good news on that. We'll continue to keep you informed. I hope we'll know something May-ish time period, certainly by June on the grant, and then hopefully get the transfer underway by sometime June-ish time frame thereabouts. So good news on that. Also, Comcast, came to us a few months ago They did follow back up with Mike and I a couple of times now. They are ready to move forward. As you know, our non-exclusive agreement with Chantel runs out in May of next year. They have an interest in that area. We'll be moving forward, and I'll get Mike to tell you a little bit about the process, just so you know. It's easier to try to say it than put it in a long email.
Well,
So
the process is similar to what you saw tonight for the lease. As well as some of you may recall, we did a franchise process for the Atmos Gas Company, whereby you advertise and solicit bids. It's non-exclusive, both companies, could operate within the city. In fact, I think that would be good for the city. So anyway, we, both David and I did respond to Comcast representative both today, and we'll continue to follow up with him. In essence, we anticipate that this is something that will go forward in the next.
mentioned it last time, a lot of big events going on. Stay in Radford, shop in Radford, visit, have fun in Radford, because we've got everything from river activities to a farmer's market opened up on Saturday. Big success on all of those, and then we continue to move forward. Concert series will be underway here in just a few short weeks. As the weather continues to get warm, I think we can safely say I can close up the salt pile out at the
Don't say
city
that.
shop.
Yeah,
This
you're
would
dooming
be
us.
historic if it was at this late. So I'm glad that we're finally at that point and had salt left over from last year. So that's good news. A lot of big events coming forward. This week from Saturday is RU graduation, and Abby's getting her degree, so I'm excited about that. And moving out, moving out of college area. We're excited, and we have everything looking good for all of our visitors that are coming to town during that period of time, and then other things that will be going on Main Street and all as we have businesses opening, things moving forward. So all good news as we're moving along. So.
Thank you very much. And I did want to mention as we get started, several of us on council had the opportunity, along with the city manager, to meet with Senator Mark Warner today, with Senator Travis Hackworth, with some of our leaders in the region to talk a little bit about economic development. And we mentioned things related to the West Radford Commerce Park. This is going to be a continual driver. You're going to get sick of hearing those 4 words, but we're going to keep talking about it. We're going to keep moving us forward on that. So that's a real positive. Seth, what do you have for us this evening?
Yeah, I'll pick up where you left off. We were all able to go to the Highlander today and to meet with Senator Mark Warner and Virginia State Senator Travis Hackworth, and appreciate them taking the time to come down and talk about some of the economic development hopes and plans for regionally for the future. And we feel very good about the site that we have here. We think that it's primed for opportunities. He touched on some of the manufacturing looking to relocate from overseas, and we have a very unique property, and I know you guys are excited to get it into your hands, and we appreciate all the work that you guys do and will do in working with you. So just wanted to thank them for coming, thank our EDA who will help us through this process. The school board's no longer here. Wanted to thank them. I know that it's been a long process here, but appreciate the dialogue and being able to answer some questions that we all had, and look forward to working with them. The Fords have left, but wanted to congratulate them on the new River City RV Resort. I do think that that's going to be a great thing for this city. I'm looking forward to it. I know that they'll do a good job running that. Opens a lot of possibilities when you talk about tourism and some discretionary spending within the city. I think that a unique possibility that I've talked to them with as well is we have that property right there, kind of at the industrial park. Would be great for us to enter, or restaurant or a Wawa's or a gas station. I think that this could really open that area up. So looking forward to that. Let's see. I think the last thing I was going to say is that this Saturday they are having a Shoot for Shaquem tournament at the Rec Hall. It starts at 9, so I know it's for a good cause that they're raising money. So been invited to that, and I hope that if you're out and about on Saturday, you'll stop by there. So that's all I got. Also, as David alluded to, we are rededicating Hodge Field on April 29th, 5 o'clock. Is that correct, or is it 6? 5:30, I think. Split the difference, 5:30. So at 5:30, looks great. It really is an iconic ballpark around here. Kids, I know I grew up playing on that field. A lot of us did. Such a unique place, a unique field. Looks great now that we've been able to put some of the bleachers from Bobcat Stadium on there and preserve some of that history and enhance our facilities. So if you're available, please join us for that rededication.
Thank you. Jesse, what do you have this evening?
Well, I have a to-do list for us that I'm just going to keep moving ahead every meeting until we check those off, because I don't want us to forget them. So one of the things I was just reading in the paper, which I was a little disappointed that that's where I learned this, but glad to hear it, that the BAE is going to modernize the ammunition plant. So I would love, again, I know we have a hard time getting leadership in it. Good.
Well, and I have someone new at BAE that I'm talking with as well that I think can
Wonderful.
help facilitate.
Yeah, I was like, you know what, I don't want to just find out that news just reading the paper. It'd be nice if we had communication and a good enough relationship that we knew what was coming up for them, because they are an important part of our community. And I swear, that's what we were told last time, which I know they were, but then it just keeps, then we end up at the same place. So I feel like we're spinning our wheels. Like I said, I'm used to cold calling, so if we need to cold call, I will cold call that arsenal. I might be arrested, but I might cold call.
They do have a jail over there.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, and
Okay.
security. I was able to attend an ACE banquet in Giles County, which was really inspiring. We were able to sit with some of the students that are recipients of this scholarship, and it is so touching. And just to hear their personal stories, they're little heroes in their own right, and I would love at some point just putting it out into the world if we were able to do something locally with that as well. Would still like at some point a presentation, just a quick overview of our POP program, because I think we have a lot of businesses that still have some question about it, and so it'd be nice if we could just get a little presentation so people know what they might be able to utilize. We want them to utilize it, what some of the past projects have done. And I think as well as with the EDA, we interact with you all the time, but I think at some point we make an assumption that everyone in the community knows the important role that you're playing. So maybe just an overview of some of the projects that we've worked together with and what your roles are. The millions of dollars you get paid to do this role, they don't, that's a joke. But anyway, I just feel like just to give the community some additional information, because we are saying EDA, we say POP program, but just to dig a little bit deeper so folks know what we're talking about. Okay, perfect. And then I mentioned ACE. I would love to have Angie Covey come and do a presentation just giving us an idea on how many community hours that those students in our community have already put in, how many students are involved with the community college, and just give us an idea. Maybe have a couple of our students even come and talk about their experience with that. We were talking earlier about the signs where we have solicitation going on right now, and I had mentioned before I'd witnessed some unsafe activity where folks are trying to do the nice thing and give money to some panhandlers that are in really high traffic areas. So I want to know like what we need to do. What is our next step to do those signs? Like we keep talking about it. We want to do it. Where are we at with that?
We were following the trespassing. We've had some success. We thought that was going to be instead.
Okay.
Sign anyway. Let's do the sign.
I like it because it's not just no trespassing, but it says that there are resources available. Because I think community members, I mentioned earlier, we're a giving community. And I think that when people see someone standing there, even though it says no trespassing, that feels punitive. It would be nice if we had a sign of resources that were readily available. The other part of that, another thing the mayor and I have been talking about, and I feel bad because these things, we get moving in different directions and they kind of fall off. So that's why y'all are going to hear this over and over. We have a lot of churches that are in organizations that are offering resources, and I can't even get my own mind grasped around what all is available in the community, because I'm always hearing a church is doing something different. There's something here, there's something there. And if we could get a list of resources and even put them on our city webpage so people know that there are resources and here they are, here are some people in the community that are participating. So again, it's mainly like probably to-do lists for us, but you know, any of these things, if there's anything I can do, let me know. I would love to do it. Right, yes, and that was a big move, is making sure that we don't have overnight camping at our parks, which is important. But I see this as a little bit different than the no trespassing, and just, I personally do. And then let's get a work session set up with that school board as soon as we're done with this budget. Let's start talking about their priorities and what their plans are in regards to the reserves. Just a quick update on the Heritage Foundation. They are busy working on the Mary Draper Ingalls Festival. They're adding some things this year. There's going to be a marathon. They're doing a 42K because that's how many days she journeyed back home. And it'll start at Bissett Park, and it'll follow the Wilderness Trail. They said look for biking, some river involvement, probably some walking, maybe some runners out there. So they're still working on this, but that they wanted me to let everyone know that they are adding to that.
Can we make it a 4.2K instead of 42? I don't think I can do 42.
Yeah, see, I'm not a runner, let me be honest. Yeah.
It may be 42K, that'd be pretty good, but.
You know what, let's go with 42,
That
because
could
we're
be-
overachievers. I'll be
that's a
honest, I
pretty
am
big
not a
route.
runner. I used to have
I
one
think
of those.
Justin will lead us in the 42K.
I
He's
used to have
got
a
us,
sticker
yeah.
that said I run 0.0 miles, so, yeah, thank you. The Highlander Hotel has agreed to provide music and food in regards to that weekend, where we're trying to get people here for the entire weekend. And with that 42K, they'll probably be here for days. So we're gonna
Months,
really get their involvement here. So again, thank you to the Highlander Festival, or the Highlander Hotel, for collaborating with the festival. They also wanted me to tell everybody on council that Pulaski County has really stepped up, and they're working very closely with us to make sure that there's, you know, even more to do in our area on this weekend. A couple new things. They're going to have Ingalls Tavern will be open for tours, which is on Hazel Hollow Road, with some information on the relevance and importance of that. The Ingalls Castle will be involved, and they said that there will be more details to follow. And then a little bit about grants. So this is one of the committees I'm on that actively pursues grant funding. So to let you know, we are in the second phase of a grant that is a total of $225,000, which is, I did say that right, it's not $22,500, it's $225,000. And that is really to help with some of the restoration. It's a very old building, and upkeep, as many of our houses are older, it requires a lot of TLC. So we are actually in the second phase of that. So everyone send good vibes into the universe. That would be huge for that building. And then we have secured the Commonwealth History Fund, and we're looking at securing a chairlift. We are really driven to get more accessibility to all floors for people that come and visit us. There's also going to be an exhibit on reconstruction. So they are busy. So that's all I have for today.
Rock and roll. Sounds good. Bobby, what do you have for us?
Yes, I'd like to, I appreciate the school board being here today, and I think our success will be determined by just willing to work together, and I think that's our future right there. I also appreciate Mr. Fletcher coming up, and Gary, and everybody that's reached out to us, and that's pretty much it.
Thank you, sir. Kelly, what do you have?
I was going to say also thank you to Mr. Fleischer and Mr. Harris coming out. It's really nice to know, you know, we hear all the time about what we do wrong, but it's nice to also hear what we're doing right. So we appreciate you guys coming out, and we appreciate the support that you mentioned about us working hard on our budget. We are working very hard, as you guys can see. And again, thank you to the school board. I know I've said thank you a bunch of times, but we do appreciate you guys. And also to Mr. Harris for making sure that flagpole got put up in record time. That was amazing, making sure that everyone is supported. And one of my favorite things every year is seeing all these flags flying in front of Glencoe. I was out at the farmer's market very early. It was chilly, and the kids were complaining, but they got all kinds of treats, so they were fine. But it was really nice to see the flags, and they were asking me about them, so it's nice to ride by there and look at that. And I saw everybody out there working Saturday in the cold, so appreciate your hard work. I'm very excited about KJ Properties doing the New River City RV Resort, and it really will actually, be like a resort. They're planning on doing some really great things, and it was really nice to see that family business be extended into our community. We had a joint commission meeting. We have decided to shift it up a little bit, so you'll see some changes that I need to send out now that the guest list is a little bit more finalized. Originally, the Joint Commission was set about because of some unruly things that were happening at Quad Fest, and now we've moved past that, hopefully, and we have some higher level people on Joint Commission. We've got, finance and marketing and people like that that can actually bring a lot of more decision-making to the table. So we're excited about that. And one of the exciting things, we have a great side committee who Melissa and Kim sit on. So they have been working very hard for 18 months, I think we said. So I would like to announce that the very first Radford Community Fest will be held on August 24th from 11 to 7 on East Main Street. We're going to shut down all the way from the hub to 3rd, is that 3rd? Okay, 3rd Avenue. And some of the things that you can expect there are 3 90-minute music sets. There's going to be a stage there. 70 vendor spaces that are at a steal at $50 a piece. And if you live in Radford, you get half off if you're a Radford resident. There's going to be a beer tent, which will hopefully also have wine. And there's going to be space for food trucks. So more planning to go, but I just wanted to announce that so everybody can mark their calendar for that Saturday, so we can share in this wonderful community we have together. So I think that's all that I have.
Thank you. That's awesome news.
Oh, also, I have one more thing, sorry. My son is starting his T-ball career this year. And I just wanted to say that the park is very busy in the afternoons every single day, and there's cars parked everywhere, and there's kids running. So just, if you go down there and you're driving, just be careful, because they're fast, and you can't always catch them when they're running around. So, and good luck to all the teams this year.
Thank you, and it's really exciting news about the August 24th event. We'll be talking about that a lot, I'm sure. Thank you to everybody who's been working on that. That's wonderful. There's a lot going on in Radford. This week is Environmental Improvement Week as part of our Environmental Improvement Month here for the city of Radford. Today is Earth Day, and so it's a good day for us to reflect on our natural environment here in the city. Friday is Arbor Day, and we will have a number of Arbor Day activities both in the city and on campus, beginning at noon and then at 2 p.m. We are working with the Daughters of the American Revolution, celebrating their chapter's 100th anniversary, and they will have a tree planting at Bissett Park about 12:30 on Friday afternoon. Come on out and celebrate with them. We are going to be working with the Pathways and the Radford Beautification Commission on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. to plant additional trees on Sundale Drive. All those beautiful red buds you see have been an effort over the last 10 or 12 years to beautify that area, to add to our municipal forest, and to really grow that beautiful part of our community. So come on out for that. Also Saturday morning, we all received invitations and postcards. The Whole You Wellness Studio is moving into the building just across the street. They're going to be moving to 644 West Main Street, and they have an open house this Saturday at 11 to 3 p.m. So come on out. I also wanted to mention the farmers market briefly. They are now open until October, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. every Saturday. They had double the number of vendors this year for opening day. I think that's going to continue out. And many of them were sold out by 11 o'clock, which is fantastic. So the farmers market is continuing to thrive and grow, and we are pleased to see that. That's absolutely wonderful. And yes, when you go down there, you get a chance to see the creation of the Field of Honor this year that'll go from now until Memorial Day getting ready, and then it'll be up all summer long. Be sure to contact the Heritage Foundation or the Radford Noon Rotary Club to purchase your flag in memory or in honor of someone. And there are, I believe, some flyers out in front of this area. There's some flyers online where you can purchase your flags and be a part of that project. Wonderful things happening throughout our community. Radford is a good place to live. Radford is a good place to invest. And I think you're hearing that from everybody, that exciting things are happening left and right. While we will always have our challenges, we're moving forward as a community together, and wonderful things are taking place. So with that, I will say thank you all very much for a great evening. And do we have a motion to adjourn? So moved. Do we have a second? All in favor say good night. Good night.